The Florida Gators are replacing Gervon Dexter, but their interior defensive line is better this year than it was last year. We're going to talk about that here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And obviously, we are available twice a day right now, leading up to this Utah game. So happy Thursday evening. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. And we're going to spend this bonus episode, talking about the interior defensive line. Because, well, let's be honest here. We're Florida Gators fans. We watched the games last year. Interior of the defensive line was not good as a unit. And there's multiple reasons for that. Like, the main reason I want to say is there wasn't really depth talent-wise, or there wasn't talent with your depth, really. So that ended up seeing too many snaps taken up by Gervon Dexter and Big Desmond Watson. There just was not reliable depth behind them. There were players playing that, frankly, should not have been playing, and this year possibly won't be playing for the guys that are still on the team. And it was tough because I know that last year I was hard on Gervon Dexter, and I do not rescind anything I've said about it. But he would take plays off here and there. He would. I don't care how much we love him. I love him too, but he would take plays off here and there. The reasoning for that? Because he was playing so many snaps. That's what he was just playing so many snaps the entire season. I forgot. J. Bud Davis has the numbers somewhere on Twitter, but it was like Gervon Dexter played like almost double the amount of snaps that the next interior defensive lineman did in the SEC. He was playing a ton of snaps. That just goes to show how awful of a spot Dan Mullen left this roster in. Because it was just in bad condition that they couldn't even justify playing the depth. That's where we were at. And there were a lot of close games that the Gators played last year. You had to keep your best players in. Like, you couldn't just justify it by playing depth. You couldn't be like, yep, Eastern Washington game, throw in the backups and let the starters stay fresh for next week. You couldn't really do that. So Gervon Dexter played a ton of snaps. Desmond Watson played a ton of snaps, and it just did not work out the way that things should have at the University of Florida, where I feel like as much as like Florida's in that DBU conversation, I feel like they used to be really in the defensive line U conversation as well. And that just was not it. Like last year, you couldn't even make the argument for having an average defensive line because you had Gervon Dexter, who's immensely talented. Desmond Watson, I think, is better than some people give him credit for. And then, yeah, like that's all it was, really. Now, you've lost Gervon Dexter to the NFL draft. He went to the Chicago Bears. I believe it was a second round pick, maybe early third. But Gervon Dexter went to the Chicago Bears. Probably going to be an impact player there, right? Probably going to get off the field at some freaking point. Now you also no longer have Jalen Lee, and you no longer have Chris Thomas. Then there were quite a few players that got playing time last year who frankly shouldn't have. Whether they're still here or not, shouldn't have. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So, the next time that you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part fits the right time, the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage, look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors, and it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Okay? Especially when you have 122 million parts to choose from. Get the right parts, the right fit, and most importantly, the right price on ebaymotors.com. Gator Nation, let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. This episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by BetterHelp because, look, recruiting is not for the faint of heart. Okay? Just saying. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/lockedoncollege and get on your way to being your best self. Whether you're dealing with the decisions around your career, relationship, anything, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate through this crazy thing that we call life. So you can move forward with confidence and excitement. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedoncollege today to get 10% off of your first month. That's betterhelp.com/lockedoncollege. You look at this year, and the interior defensive line looks much better because you look at what they did in the transfer portal, and that's the main selling point here for why the defensive line is going to be better. You look at the transfer portal, okay? You see Cam Jackson, all conference player from Memphis last year. Like he was all conference while playing for the Memphis Tigers last year. He came to Florida in the transfer portal, Senior Bowl watch list player. Cam Jackson is going to be a high impact player for the Florida Gators in 2023. Probably going to be starting nose tackle, probably going to make a lot of freaking plays over there. Okay? So you bring in Cam Jackson from the transfer portal. Caleb Banks, 3-star out of high school, 4-star out of the transfer portal from Louisville. More of a pass rusher than anything else, at least what he showed at Louisville. Even then, it's going to be going from backup at Louisville to can you break the rotation in Florida, which yes, he can and he will. He's probably going to be, I'm not going to say he's going to be starting, but he's going to be in that 4-man rotation. That's going to be Cam Jackson, Caleb Banks, Chris McClellan, and Desmond Watson. Caleb Banks is going to be in that conversation. So yeah, he's going to play. I get it. He didn't play a lot at Louisville. How's he going to play in Florida? Because here's the thing. The evaluation process with the Florida Gators in the transfer portal, tried and true. Like they know what they're getting from the portal. They know what they're bringing in. They know who they're targeting. Caleb Banks, I don't know if he's going to be great. Okay, I'm not going to say he's going to be great. I'm saying he's going to be better than what we saw last year. And he's going to be, at the very least, an upgrade to defensive line depth. Then we look at, I think, my favorite player on the interior of this line, Chris McClellan. Chris McClellan, last year, I think was the second most talented interior defensive lineman. I think it was Gervon Dexter and then Chris McClellan. I love Big Dez. Chris McClellan showed, hey, I've got pass rushing ability. I've got run stopping ability. I could shed blocks. I can deconstruct blocks. I can do this. And he showed it in the limited snaps he got. The biggest question now is going to be taking more snaps. Can you do it consistently? Because I've talked about this when just talking about the Utah game. It's easy to come in off the bench against a tired starting guard and be able to break him down. Not so much when you have to do it consistently. Like when you're fresh legs and you can just come in and do that, great. But now you have to do it consistently. That's what we're looking for from Chris McClellan. He got more snaps as the year went on, but we're going to be looking for Chris McClellan to take that next step because I think he's going to be the next Gators first round pick potentially on that interior of the defensive line. So if he can do that, if he could just take the next step towards becoming that, because last year he was a true freshman, then you're looking at a great recruiting ad from last year. You look at Desmond Watson. He's going to be more effective this year because last year he played more snaps than he should have too. So he gets to take more breaks this year, be fresher this year, and it's just a matter of doing it throughout the entire year, staying in shape, maintaining all that. Also, if you're a Florida Gators fan, which you probably are if you're watching this, Don't be shocked if true freshman defensive lineman Will Norman finds his way into the rotation. Like with his skill set, I look at him as someone like, hey, you're going to be able to rush the passer. We know that. Like we've seen your film. We know what you can do as a pass rusher. It's about being able to be consistent against the run and going from high school, which he played for IMG senior year. He didn't, but prior to that, he was at IMG. Going from IMG, great. Like we know you're going to be pretty technically sound. But going to the SEC, obviously a pretty big step up. So it's a matter of will he do it early? I don't know. But before the end of the year, Will Norman, I believe, is going to be working his way into this defensive line rotation, especially as injuries and wear and tear just add up at some point because this is football. That's going to happen. So last year, you had a weak defensive line, one great player. This year, you're looking at improve pretty much across the board. You might not have the guy as good as Gervon Dexter, but every other player is better than you had last year. So big improvement along the interior defensive line for Florida this year. That's going to help the linebackers. That's going to help the secondary. It's going to help everybody. And this defense is going to be much improved because of it. And I think we'll see that as early as August 31st, a week from today against Utah. Simple as that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day or second of the day. We'll be back tomorrow with Brandon Carroll to talk Florida Gators, Utah Utes. It's going to be a war. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33, and I will see you all tomorrow.